Well, welcome back to She Shines. This is where we celebrate women who turn pain into purpose and pressure into power, especially since it's Women's History Month. So today's episode is concrete ceilings and compassionate care with Jacquelyn Gaines. I'm your host, Karen, Coach KG Gilliam, and I want to let you know that Jacquelyn, who will join me in a few minutes, has gone from bedside manner to boardroom, from clinician to CEO, from a candy striper to a community change maker. So I want you to know she is what I call an oldie but goodie in healthcare. And listen, that is said with total honor and excellence. I'm wearing, you can't see it, but I'm wearing my queen top given to me by a client. So shout out to Martha Cambridge in Virginia, another queen who in her 70s is still shining. Jacquelyn Gaines is also a queen, nurse practitioner, healthcare administrator, CEO, author, consultant, community advocate, a wife of 49 years, a mother and a grandmother. And you know what? She's a Zumba instructor for seniors. She goes by Sassy J. So please welcome to our studio, Jacquelyn Sassy J. Gaines.
Hello.
Hello there, Jackie. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's great. It's nice and warm here in North Carolina where I live.
Well, I met you in North Carolina, and
Yes.
I wish it was warmer here in Washington State. But I'm not complaining because we haven't had any snow this winter, so I'm not complaining. At
Oh,
least not
good.
here in the valley. So,
Good, good. Well, thank you for having me.
well, it's a pleasure. I cannot wait for our listeners to hear your story. But before you tell the story, I know I sort of gave a brief bio. I'd like you to introduce yourself.
Well, thank you again for having me. I like you said, I think I am an oldie but goodie. Been around in the particularly in the healthcare industry for 49 years and counting. And as you said, I've done everything from the bedside, being a clinician and seeing patients, all the way through to the boardroom where I ran as Mercy Health Partners president and CEO for several years there. And now I am an executive healthcare consultant and principal for Huron Consulting Group. So I've done a lot in between. Done a lot with, I wrote some books and I'm really excited about that. And I speak all over the country as a national speaker for my company as well, trying to do my share for the leadership of tomorrow. And so I do a lot of leadership conferences for particularly in healthcare.
Oh, well, let me just say the list, as you see, is long for Jackie. But she and I met, wow, Jackie, how long ago was that?
Oof. At least, well, I've been in North Carolina for what, 16 years? So it's been 16 years because it was right that first year when I
When you moved
arrived.
when you moved to
Yes,
North Carolina.
yes,
Wow.
yes.
And I was with a radio station there
Yes, you
in North
were.
Carolina, and we met, and the similarities in our life and our stories are just
Yes,
uncanny. So
yes.
I love that you are lovingly known as Sassy J because as you look at her, she is sassy. But but what I love most, Jackie, is that you didn't just break glass ceilings. Oh no. You broke concrete ones. So we're going to get into this story because it is good. So, Jackie, before the boardroom, before your CEO title, you were a candy striper. Now,
Oh, that's taking me back up. You're taking an old lady back, way back when I was like 12 or 13 years old.
well, I want, because I'm sure we have a lot of people listening that might not even know what a candy striper is. So
It's
take us back, Jackie.
well,
What
it's
was little
actually
Jacquelyn
well,
like?
it's actually it was a voluntary role, that my parents wanted to expose their children to all kinds of things so that they could make decisions about their career. And I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. So
Mm.
back then, candy stripers wore uniforms that looked like a candy stripe. And basically we would go into the hospital. We didn't do much, served water, books, magazines, took care of the flowers, talked to the patients. But I got to see the world of healthcare from the inside, and I was smitten. I think I knew then, wasn't sure what I wanted to do, whether I wanted to
Mhm.
be a physician or whether I wanted to be a nurse. But I think being there for several years, being a candy striper, the nursing part of it really touched my heart. I loved the caring spirit that they showed to patients and just knew I wanted to do that, in my career. So I chose the nursing path and went on to be a nurse practitioner, and that's all she wrote.
Wow. And you know what? You are absolutely right. A nurse is someone who has extreme compassion, who seriously takes on that role as being someone's caregiver,
Yes.
and they're in your care. So kudos to you, Jack. Sometimes I want to say Jacqueline, sometimes I want to say
Please
Jack.
call me Jackie.
I knew it.
It's
I
like
knew she was gonna say
it's
that.
it's only my mother when I'm doing something wrong calls me calls me Jacqueline, but
Oh yeah. Moms do that, don't they? I remember same thing for me. My mother, if it was Karen, but if it was Karen Johnson, that's the first level of trouble.
that's
But if she
right.
went Karen Denise Johnson,
Yes.
I better come sprint.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, what you just shared, your early inspiration and your foundation into healthcare, you were exposed to volunteering, and that is admirable as well. You also had strong parental influence. Your
Yes.
parents influenced you strong.
Yeah.
And then um, you were told in our conversation before by your father that you would have to work harder.
Yes. Yes. My parents were pretty strict, about
Hmm.
those things,
Oh,
believed
yes.
in all 3 of their daughters that they wanted them to achieve, but
Hmm.
knew that we were Black women that
Hmm.
would have to work harder, to
Hmm.
be accepted in, higher level roles, but
Yes.
for us, they just wanted us to achieve and to
Yes.
and to do something that we loved and enjoyed doing, and that was really important. But, no, I was a little bit of a nerd back then, study a bookworm, studied, straight A student, but, that was never good enough for my dad particularly. If I brought home an A, he would say, "Well, why didn't you get the extra credit?" You know, because
Wow.
he knew then that I'd need to have that in my head
Yeah.
in order to be successful, and in many ways, even though I didn't like it when he was saying it back then, he was right. I
Yeah.
did need to push myself harder in order to get accepted and to be in the roles. And, I've been very fortunate to have achieved more than most in their career,
Yes.
not just as a minority woman, but as a person, in
Yes.
general. So, when I lecture at universities, the one of the first things they ask me is, "How you know all this stuff, Miss Gaines?" And the second question is, "When can I make how much money you make?" And it's like, well, first of all, I'm old. Secondly, I've done a lot in my career, and lots of, water under this bridge for this journey. But you have to work hard at what you do. And so
Yes.
it's not a matter of when, you just have to leave yourself open for that journey, that each of us
Absolutely.
are on, in order to achieve where you want to.
Absolutely. And that's why I encourage clients that find what it is that you are passionate about.
Right.
Because if we have to work hard, we at least need to enjoy it
Exactly.
and it not
Exactly.
just be a job. And
Right.
we know that's the journey of the broke or
Yeah.
broken.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you should say that because when I lecture, one of the things, a whole lecture that I have on is about the power of joy. And
Mm,
this is to a leadership group because basically I think, we spend more waking hours in our workplace than we do with our own families or friends. And when you think
sad,
about that, it is, but it's true.
but it's true.
And if but when you think about that, if you are doing something that does not bring you joy, then you are going to be a miserable human being, not only to yourself, but
Hmm.
to your team, if you're a leader, to the people, your colleagues. And we've all worked side by side next to a curmudgeon who is not happy.
Oh, what, Jackie?
That's my word. It's a curmudgeon. It's really, and basically it's somebody who just wakes up evil, wakes up
Wow.
not happy with themselves, with their life, with everything. And they bring it to work because we do bring our whole selves to work.
Yes.
There is
Yes.
no compartmentalizing that, and
Mm-mm.
you feel that, but if you work side by side next to someone who is truly, as you said, passionate about what they do, but really is doing something that brings them joy, then it doesn't have to mean everything that you do. It's a job.
Yeah.
Everything's not gonna bring you, but if the essence of what you do brings you joy, you're more productive, you're
Yes.
better at what you do, and I just think you excel a lot faster when you
You
choose
do.
jobs that bring you joy than chasing the title or the money, and I am
That's right.
convinced that the money comes, the title will come, but if
Hmm.
that's your first choice, then you're not going to be very happy or good at what you do. So I have
Right.
always gone after things and jobs that bring me joy, that
Absolutely.
I call it ringing my bell.
You know that song went right in my head.
It rings my
Ring
bell.
my bell.
That's right.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, I have uh, isms as my producer calls them, Coach KG isms. And so joy, there is joy in the journey.
Right.
And you can't write the word journey without joy.
I love it. Yes, that
So
is correct. That is
so
correct.
have that joy, and you definitely are a fine example of having that joy.
Yeah.
Well, now let's see. We've gone from the bedside. So now let's go into that boardroom. You've held positions as a nurse practitioner to healthcare administrator to CEO. Whoa, that's a powerful arc. What did each level, Jackie, teach you?
Oh, well, I think a lot about myself. First of all, even thinking that I could do it. When I graduated particularly the second time around with, being a nurse practitioner, I thought that this is my life. This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, and
Mhm.
it's funny, you don't see beyond that. If someone had told me, "Oh, you're gonna have some bestseller books," I'm like, "Oh, really? No, get out of here. I'm not gonna be an author," you know? Or that you were gonna be a national speaker, or that you were going to be, one of the few minority women in the country at that time to run a health system as their president and CEO, as a system president, which is even a step higher than being a hospital president. And so
Wow.
it if someone had told me that back then when I graduated, the first
Mhm.
time around with at University of Maryland, and then the second time around at University of Maryland with my graduate degrees, it's like I would have said, "Get out. No." That's not I'm happy with what I'm doing, but
Mhm.
I think, through the power of mentorship, I had lots of different mentors in my life along the way, and I think they saw something in me before I saw it in myself, and basically pushed and said, you have a bigger dream than that."
Mhm.
And, um, every time a new job would come available, this particular one mentor, who I, just adore, he
Mhm.
said to me, I would ask him, I'm like, "What about this job? What does this sound like? Is this the next step for me?" I
Mhm.
wasn't really looking, and he stopped me and he said, "You have 2 things you need to think about when you looking at new jobs. Are you still happy, Jackie? Are you still having fun? And the second
Mm.
question was even more powerful, was, are you growing? Because when you stop growing and stop enjoying what you do, you know that it's time to move to the next thing that you need to get involved in. And I've lived with that through every single transition that I've been through. So I stopped looking for jobs. So basically, I didn't look for a job. I left myself open for the opportunity, and I just walked through the door. My grandmother, you talk about isms. My grandmother used to say to me, "Jackie, get out of your own way." And when
Wow.
I was little, I had no
Mhm.
idea what she was talking about.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was like, "What
Mhm.
okay, Nana, that's fine. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's fine." But as an older person, you
Mhm.
now know that I was the barrier to my own journey because I
Yes.
was chasing what I thought other people wanted me to be, not what I wanted to be. As soon as
Mm.
I put that down, I
Mhm.
saw other opportunities, and I don't think I would have, and I left myself open for mentorship too, so I don't think I would
Yes.
have done that if I had, just stayed in my own way and put up my own barriers, having this concrete, 5-year plan. I threw the 5-year
Mhm.
plan away, and now I'm following my passion, and
That's it.
amazing, and I'm
That's
still
it.
doing well and being, excelling in what I'm doing,
Mhm.
and it's because I think it's those 2 things, those joy and growth.
And I just spoke on this recently about especially women. We we do get in our own way, and as women, we want permission
Right,
and permission and timing, permission from family members,
right.
and it's what are you waiting for? You cannot really, honestly, blame anything or anybody.
Right.
Stop waiting for permission. Get out, like Jackie said, get out of your own way.
Well, and I think some of it is that we haven't had that chat, that honest chat with ourselves about what is absolutely important to us. So
Oh,
when I
yes.
mentor other women, particularly, I have them do this quick chart, which I'll share. It's
Okay.
basically your chart of absolutes. So you get out a blank
Ooh.
piece of paper. You sit in
Mm-hmm.
a room, close the door, don't have the TV on or radio, nothing, just you and your own thoughts.
And get away
And
from the
you
phone.
just get away, nothing. You can't just, you need just about 30 minutes to yourself.
Okay.
And basically you make 3 columns. The first column is all the things that you absolutely must have in any job that you would have. And ground rules, you
Mm.
can't use title and you can't say money. So what would you write down? They have to be behavioral. So for instance, I love being growing things and building things and nurturing things. And so
Mhm.
any job that I have has to have those characteristics in it.
Mhm.
It could be building buildings, projects, people, but I like that. The other thing is that I know that I probably, even though I could do finance, I probably would never be a CFO because me and numbers by myself wouldn't that wouldn't work. I gotta have people in my life.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
I gotta be driving people. So me talking
Come
to the
on.
numbers all day, I know how to read it, but I know how to interpret it as a CEO, but not my joy button. So
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
so I leave that. So the next column is all of those things that you absolutely would walk away from a job if it was in there. So I'll give you my own. I'm at the point now, I've traveled, from East Coast to West Coast. I've lived on both coastlines and in between. And
Mhm.
I have no desire to travel anymore like that, not to move. I'm done moving. Done moving. I'm not moving. Until they move me and put me somewhere at home, I'm not moving, so I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Done with it. So that would be on my absolutes chart. Something that would force me to move or relocate is a no-no for me. So, but that wasn't on there, 10 years ago. That would have been maybe a different
Yeah,
answer
you're in a
then.
different
You
season.
know? Right. But
Yeah.
then that last column is your negotiables. And I think,
Ooh.
what are you willing to negotiate? What kinds of things are, okay. If people did this, just had this private conversation, you don't have to show it
Yes.
to anybody. You could take it
Yes.
into an interview. And instead of the company interviewing you only,
Come
you
on.
now are looking for specific things to interview them about. Do they match? Check off your absolutes. And
Ooh,
if
I love it.
doesn't ring your bell, but it's a little trick of the trade that you should, I hope your listeners, do it. Have
Yes.
a talk with yourself. We don't talk to ourselves enough. That doesn't
Mm-mm.
make you crazy. It makes you wise.
Yeah. That is true. That is very true. We have a lot of wisdom.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that because to me, that is important. It's amazing. We'll make a checklist for a vacation, um, for our kids, grandkids, and in this case for me and you. Why not make a list for you?
Yeah. Just identifying, just I don't
Identify,
think we
yes.
pause. We don't pause to
No.
have that conversation with ourselves. We just
Mm-mm.
go. We just run, do. We get a degree, we don't know why. We just yeah, it's like, okay, everybody else is getting this, let me get it. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, pause. Why? And then
yes,
all the other things kind of you'd be surprised it opens your vision to see things that you may not have been able to see before.
yes.
You'll look at things a little bit differently, and so it's pretty effective.
I love it. And if you are listening right now, definitely put that on your list to do to succeed. I don't like to call it a to-do list because everybody
No.
hates a to-do list, but I call it to succeed list.
Right.
And because you will succeed by
Yes.
doing that. So I thank you, Jackie, for sharing that. Now, you spoke of two things that I want us to go into mentorship and your books.
Mhm.
So I'll let you decide um, which one you want to talk about first, but we'll talk about both of them.
Well, I'll start with the mentorship because it's near and dear to my heart. First of
Yes.
all, I have been blessed to have so many I can close my eyes and see the people who have touched my life,
Yes.
over the years at every stage of, I
Yes.
guess even starting with my parents, but then going beyond that to other people, like I said, who saw something in me before I saw it in myself. I may seem extroverted today, but
Mhm.
not really. I mean, I it takes a lot. I work at being an extrovert. I had to allow others in to kind of help me to see some other parts of me that could be successful, things they just, pushed me to. And I'll give you a little short story about my biggest mentor in my life was a man by the name of Dick Davidson. He was the president of American Hospital Association and served on a board of directors on one of the organizations I worked for, Healthcare for the Homeless, back
Mhm.
when I lived in Maryland. And
Mhm.
um, and he pushed me to even apply for being the CEO of that organization when I was seeing patients. I was a nurse practitioner,
Wow.
I was seeing patients. And basically, when make a long story short, when I got the job, I did get the job after he nurtured me, told me all about it.
Mhm.
He sent me this little baby tree, this little tiny little baby tree, and said, "You're growing, and
Oh.
this isn't the end. This isn't the end." Probably after he was stepping down off of our board and he was doing more work at, the American Hospital Association,
Mhm.
he kept mentoring me,
Mhm.
and he would talk to me about, the next step when I was there at Healthcare for Homeless for 13 years before I left, and I'm, very proud of that work there, but it was time for me to go to the next thing, and he kept telling me, "You're gonna run a hospital." And I was like, "Get out of here, Dick. I'm not running any hospital." You know? Get out of here, and so, but, ended up, I, went across country, left Maryland, first time ever leaving the state traveling, and my family moved to Portland, Oregon, where, I became the first, minority female to run a hospital in the state's history. So,
Wow.
shattered that glass ceiling. It was actually a little concrete, but shattered that, and, and they actually have pictures of me standing outside of the hospital with a sign that says, "The real Portland Trailblazer."
Oh,
It was really pretty cool.
that
Um,
is.
it was pretty cool, and so I remember I hadn't been in that job as CEO, but I don't know, a couple weeks, and then this delivery came with this medium-sized tree from Dick Davidson. So it had grown into another tree, but it was bigger, and he wrote, "You're not done yet. You will run a health system." And now you have to understand, during that time period, minority women particularly, they didn't exist at that
Right.
level. There
Right.
was no system CEOs that were, there were some women, but very few. There weren't any minority women. We had gotten to the phase where I think it was maybe 10 or 12 of us actually running hospitals, but to
Wow.
run the whole health system was a whole nother hill of beans. So when I got recruited and then hired to run the Mercy Health system in Pennsylvania,
Uh-huh.
it was a big old concrete chunk came falling down, and, the next thing I knew, again, couple weeks there, I get this humongous tree with a
Oh my
note
goodness.
stick that says, "I told you so." But,
Wow.
but the mentorship that he, demonstrated, that he role modeled for me, I carry in my spirit to this
Yes.
day. And he
Yes.
taught me so many lessons about encouraging. It doesn't take a lot to encourage someone else to
That's
be
right.
their best, and when you
Yes.
do that, your team follows you because you're lifting them up. It's not about you,
Yes.
it's about your team and the people that work with you every day, and I do say with, and not for.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Because it takes all of us
Yes.
together to do the work, especially in healthcare, the hard work that we have to do. So,
Oh
I
my
the
gosh.
power of mentorship is really important to me, and I don't think in all the years, I don't think I've ever said no to anybody of being someone's mentor. I mentor
Mm-mm.
all all shapes, sizes, ethnicities, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's not about that. It's that I am drawn to people who want to grow and who
Yes.
want to really take the mirror out and look at themselves and see that they can, that they can fly, that they can, achieve the impossible, and don't
Yes.
let anybody what did my father say? "Don't let anybody tell you what you cannot be."
That's
You know,
right. That's
so,
right.
you should just dig in and just do your job. So
I
that
love
led
it.
me to the second answer to your question about the book.
Mhm. Mhm.
One of the things that I noticed, particularly as a woman, was that most of the leadership books that are out there are written by men, and, even the ones for women. And so I kept thinking I would pick something up and it was like, "Wait a minute, this is not this it's missing a whole lot, in here." Like,
Mhm.
even things like who writes about, the guilt that women feel when they have to go back to work after having a kids or the choices that they make
Mhm.
about
Mhm.
having children and working, or
Right.
and don't be a leader. Oh my goodness, that's a whole nother choice. But even getting even more granular, like who teaches women about how to live through menopause and be a leader? And I mean, honestly,
Come on.
who has those kind of conversations?
Uh-huh.
Um, and so I started writing nonfiction, but all books that were, take the gloves off. Let's talk real about what it's
Yes.
like to
Yes.
be a woman and to be a leader, particularly, and to excel. How do you do that? What's that professional trajectory?
Mhm.
Based on not
Mhm.
just my own experience, but the experience of other women that I've worked with, and also, being in a diverse person in
Right.
the workforce, and how do you navigate that? So it ended up one book, and the next thing you knew, 5 books later, 5 bestsellers, and has been really all around the world. The especially the Yellow Suit book, it has definitely gone worldwide.
Oh my goodness. And you told me you sort of updated.
Yes, yes.
Explain the yellow suit.
So so basically, that book, the first book, The Yellow Suit:
Mhm.
A Guide for Women in Leadership,
Mhm.
it took off. I mean, it got such accolades from everywhere. People loved that book. And it had been out a while, so it had some dated material in it, and
Right.
I kept getting the request, "Jackie, you need to do the next edition of the" so I did, and now that one has done very well as well, called Wearing the Yellow Suit: A Guide for
Mm.
Women in Leadership. So, it's all updated, probably about, I would say, 60 to 65% new material, that new stories, new things to share, that brings us up to present day. But the title, The Yellow Suit, actually has a meaning, and I'll share that with your
Yes.
listeners. Even though I want you to get the book, I'll share that with you.
Okay. Okay.
Because people often ask me, "Well, why? That's an odd title, The Yellow Suit." So
Mhm. It
when
is.
I was, interviewing for the CEO job in Portland, the very first hospital CEO job and it was clear across country.
Yeah.
I lived in Maryland, and here I was, looking at going clear across country for a job. Never left the state before like that, for employment. And so I I am, as you can see by today, I love colors. And so I'm
Yes.
always unusual. I dress professionally, but I will wear colors. I don't like
Mhm.
the traditional black suit, white shirt, you know, the
Boring.
pumps, all of that. I just, so if I'm going to be the only one in the room, which I usually am, the only woman, and sometimes the only woman minority in the room,
Mhm.
they're going to see me.
Come on
And they're
now.
gonna because colors bring me joy. So,
Yes.
when I looked in to my suitcase, I'm like, "Okay, what am I gonna pack for this interview?" Because
Mhm.
should I wear my colors or should I go traditional with the black suit, all that? So I went with colors, so I packed my colors. One of the things I put in the bag was a yellow muted, very professional suit with a lovely scarf and all of that, and showed up for the interview.
Mhm.
Now, the way they had us interviewing, the other 2 candidates, we were rotating. It was 3 of us. We were rotating, and I saw them. Guess what they were wearing? One other woman, black suit, white shirt.
Uh-huh.
And the guy, black suit, white shirt, red tie. I was like, uh-huh. And here I am in a yellow muted suit, right? So I went into the interview and, it was being me. Just I had them laughing. They were enjoying it was a great exchange. And I went back to my hotel room, and the recruiter calls me that night. I'm still in Portland, to meet the system president the next day. And
Uh-huh.
he says, Jackie, they want you to come back to do another round with the board, which wasn't on the schedule. I was just going to meet the CEO. I said, really? He says, yeah. He says, you blew them away, but all that they kept telling the CEO, who hasn't met me yet, he says, anybody who is that courageous to wear a yellow suit to an interview is the type of person we want for this job.
Whoa! Yes,
And so
ma'am.
I interviewed with the board, and then the next day I got offered the job from the CEO. Yeah. So be yourself,
Uh-huh.
guys. I mean, be yourself.
Yes. Be
Step into
yourself.
who you are. You don't have to be
Yes.
afraid. And it's not about being outlandish. It's more about being yourself.
True
You
to
fully
you.
into yourself and feeling okay about who you are.
Yes.
You don't have to
Absolutely.
to do that. So that's my 2 stories. Did I answer your
Oh,
questions?
yes, ma'am. Now, a couple of takeaways. Yellow and red are the 2 power colors.
Yes.
So you, even though it was muted, as you said, but it was still yellow. And
Yes.
McDonald's, the fast food chain, uses red and yellow.
Yes. Yes.
And look what happened. So that
See?
just, yeah. And then another takeaway from what you shared is you said impossible. And immediately I had an ism for it. I'm possible.
Yes.
You write that word impossible
I'm
instead of
writing that
saying
down.
I'm possible. And
That's right.
then another reflection I had while you were sharing that about the trees. Sometimes we're trimming branches when we should be examining the roots.
Yes. Yes.
And I I just, Jackie, when I talk to you, so much just floods my mind, and the similarities, like I said, we have, because I had a mentor, and you were talking about what Dick saw in you, and my mentor told me what I was going to be doing, and I laughed, and she said something profound to me. Instead of what she saw in me, she said, allow me to believe in you until you believe in yourself.
Right.
And those
Right.
words just pierced. But I love the analogy of the trees. Dick was a mentor for you. And my definition of a mentor, like my mentor, someone who lives to make sure your dreams come true. That's what
Yes.
my
Yes.
mentor did for me, and that's what Dick did for you.
And just for the record, Dick Davidson is a white man. And so to take me under his wing
Mhm.
during that time period was just an amazing gift to me, which I
Yes,
think mentorship is.
it is.
It's a gift
Absolutely.
to the people you
And
touch.
be careful about the people that you are hanging around with.
Right.
If you're hanging around 10 broke friends, what does that make you?
Right.
Number 11.
Exactly.
Because
That's
you
right. That's
you
right.
will become the sum of all that you hang around. Be careful.
That's
Love
right.
everybody, but don't hang with everybody.
Right.
That
Can
is,
I
I mean,
share
yeah. Yeah,
can I can I share one more thing that I learned,
sure.
along the way that I think, is probably my anchor, is that whatever you choose to do it with respect and integrity. And that
Yes.
if you can hang on to those 2 things, you could work in almost any environment. And it really is the when you talk about the roots, it is the roots for your success. I think
Yes.
if you compromise or allow someone to compromise either of those things, and if you show respect and lead with integrity, I think you will be on the pathway to success. And every mentor that I ever had demonstrated that to me.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Yeah, I just know I'm saying this already, but you gonna come back and because we're gonna share even more. But I do want to talk about this because you and I talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Um,
Yes.
and when it comes to patient centered care, because like I said, you are very compassionate in your caring. And how healthcare often skips foundational needs. You cannot treat illness without addressing safety, housing, belonging. But I want you to share about the homeless healthcare growth and the understanding of that, of the human hierarchy. You mind
Yeah,
sharing
I
that?
No, no, not at all. I spent 13 years of my life, and my heart is probably one of the best jobs I've ever had was working at Healthcare for the Homeless in Maryland, and they're still in existence all around the country. At the time when I joined, there were only 17 programs like this one in Maryland,
Hmm.
nationwide. And, we were learning a lot from each other. And I came from Johns Hopkins where you can clap your hand and your resources are right there to take care of people. But in the homeless clinics, their resources are low. You have to be
Hmm.
and their needs are very complex in that
Yes.
they really present with social underpinnings that have to be addressed, whether they ate, whether they, could
Right.
keep themselves clean and not reinfect a wound, for instance. It's all kinds of considerations that uh, traditional healthcare does not take in. They're not built that way. We're built
Right.
for people to be, I mentioned Maslow's to you, but at a higher level on that Maslow's chart. We almost
Right.
expect people to be able to be self-actualized and haven't
Hmm.
even dealt with water and shelter and
Come
safety
on.
at the and then we wonder why they're not compliant. So, one of the cool things I learned, and it was a big lesson for me that I took all the way even to today, is that
Hmm.
when you work with people, no matter whether they have limited resources or not, that the system has to be built for them and not for the provider, not for the
Come
people
on.
providing care and their convenience, but for them. Do you ask them the right questions? Do you have a
Yes.
refrigerator to put these medicines in? Do
Mm.
you have access to running water? Can you take this medicine, 3 times a day with meals? Well, when somebody looks at you and says, "Well, which meal? Out of the garbage can or the soup kitchen?"
Mm.
Gonna say, or that the soup kitchen won't let me keep my medicines there, so
Right.
it's like you have to think differently, and I think that's what I learned so much when I worked
Hmm.
with Healthcare for the Homeless because it taught me that I had to flip that paradigm. It was
Yes.
not, the healthcare system, everything I learned in school was built on people being higher up on that scale of Maslow's,
Yes.
and we all of us who did that work for all those years and still do that work, you have to look at this from a totally different lens, deal with those social
Absolutely.
patients first. And I just think we miss that. And in our environment today, where people are lacking so many resources, they don't have to be
Mhm.
homeless. They just are on the
No,
edge. We don't
right.
ask the right questions, and we're still assuming that people can do what we ask them to do in healthcare, and we really have to change that paradigm a little bit and look at the world a little bit differently, ask different questions, and train
Yes.
people differently,
Oh,
that checking boxes about, their lives, that it's just different in how you
it
set up,
is. It
you know?
is. It's a matter of getting in their boat,
Yes, yes,
understanding them. It's not about the system that you are a
right,
part of. It is not about the organization or the company or whoever. It's not about the board.
right,
It's about that person that's in front of you,
right,
that you're
right,
face to face with.
uh,
Healing, my insight to that, Jackie, is healing is holistic.
yes,
It's holistic. And that you can't prescribe dignity.
right.
You
Right,
can't.
exactly,
You
exactly,
must practice it.
right. That's that respectful piece
Yes.
of who you are and whatever role
Yes.
you have, doesn't even have to be healthcare, but respect has to be part of your core
Yes.
foundation, um,
Absolutely.
along sitting right by your integrity.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And, what is it? Respect is earned,
yes, not given.
not given.
Right,
What?
right,
I am going to respect the person. I don't have to know about them or they have to do something. It's unconditional to me.
right, and you
Now,
don't have
if
to
you,
even like them. You don't even have to like them to
right,
respect them.
no, no.
But
But, I know spiritually, you and I, we see them, or we should see them as God sees them,
yes,
and they matter.
absolutely, absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
you don't want me to get on that soapbox. All right, so let's talk about the concrete ceilings before we get into something fun.
Okay.
Um, you said you didn't break glass ceilings, and I've always just heard about glass ceilings, especially as a woman and as a minority. You broke concrete ones. Come on, Jackie, explain that.
I just think that, um, there's without doing a whole list, there's so many first, walking through the first of doing something, being the first in doing something, as a minority woman. And I think you pause and you say, "Why is this like this? Why was this so hard?" And there's it's not just breaking the glass, and it's really been, you have to work 3 times harder. You have to really push yourself to break that. Now, even being a system president, that was a concrete ceiling. I mean, there's you look around and, there's really none of us there to talk to,
Come on. Yeah.
and so,
Yeah.
and that had been that way back then for a long time. Now there's more today than there was
Hmm.
back, when that occurred, but it
Right.
but it was still a climb, that
Yeah.
that the to get through that ceiling like that. I'm proud of it, but it also is sad, because people, when I
Yes.
tell people that story or they read my first book, Believing You Can Fly, that talks about, crashing that ceiling, it's
Hmm.
sort of, again, they're proud, but then you're sad that you had to fight that fight like that. That it was, I'm talented, at least I think I am, and and that I think I have something to contribute equally, if in not in some cases, maybe even better than my male counterpart. But it still wasn't a level playing field. So I think, um, maybe we've transitioned away from the concrete back to glass, but back then, it was definitely concrete
Oh,
and,
yeah.
took a lot of effort Uh, and you know what I heard people say is, and which really it kind of still in my soul. We took a chance on you, Jackie. You know, and I just had to you pause and you say, how many other people, my male counterparts, did they say that to? That
Right.
they took a chance on them, and the
Right.
chance was because I was a minority female, and they
Mhm.
took a chance on me. Um,
Mhm.
Again, I'm glad I opened that door for other people, to
Yes.
follow, that it maybe that it returned to glass instead of it being concrete. It's still a barrier,
It is.
but
It is.
it's not as heavy, I don't think, as it was, when me and several other minority females walked through that door.
Wow. Wow, powerful. Then and what I take away from that I believe you said when we had our conversation, that you live and work not letting anyone tell me what I
Can't do.
can be, can't do, or
Right,
and
can't what I cannot be.
right.
That's right.
And one of the things, and this is something I'm learning right now, is I don't want to leave room for doubt. So I'm trying to watch saying I think,
Mhm.
because if you tell somebody I think, they are
Right.
going to receive that as, oh, she's not sure. So
Yes.
I am trying to say I believe.
Yes.
So that is that's stronger than I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
So I want to encourage our listeners to start saying,
I
instead
believe.
of I think, I believe.
Yes.
So, well, Jackie, you are the master of your own journey. You are spiritual. You are following a path written with your own pen. You invest in others. I mean, the accolades that I could just go on and on about you are incredible. And one fun thing that she does do is Zumba. Zumba. And I think last month I had how I was introduced to Zumba, Maria, and she's in Raleigh, and she's from Guatemala, and she made Zumba fun. And when I look on social media and see Jackie with her seniors, I see why they call you Sassy J. So tell them about your Zumba for
Oh.
seniors.
It's my first of all, it's my passion. I've been teaching now for almost 12 years, and, I started doing it actually when I moved to North Carolina. I wanted
Mhm.
to bond with other women in the area, didn't know anybody, and went to a Zumba party, and that was it. I was hooked. It was fun. I had a blast.
Yes.
I danced, with friends that are near and dear to me today, for several years before we all together, a group of us went and got our licenses as instructors and began to teach.
Wow.
And when the senior center here in Apex in North Carolina was opening, I went there and I said, "Look, I want to give back to my community. How would you like a free Zumba instructor once a week?" And for your seniors. And they just looked at me like, "Really?" And so as soon as the doors opened, I started, and the class has just grown and grown and grown and
Oh,
we have such a blast. I try to make it all fun for them, and we dress up. We have parties. We just have a good time with each other, and it's not about necessarily just the moves, even though they work out now. They work
yeah. Oh,
they work out.
yeah.
But I got my handle, Sassy J, because my colors, but also I like all these different hats that have bling on them. So they start
Ah.
so they started to call me Sassy J, and it stuck. And so now everybody knows me as Sassy J.
Wow. Well, that is definitely community care in action. Sassy J and her seniors, and I'm gonna tell you, they are a hoot. I
They
just watching on social media is great. Well, Jackie, like I said, I know I'm going to have you back, but we're going to do the Sassy J fire
Okay.
round.
All
And if
right.
you are a listener to She Shines with Coach KG, you know, yes, we talk serious at the beginning. You get to hear a woman share her story, see how she shines, not only in the workplace, but in her community. But then I just like to lighten it up a little bit. And we have this fire round, which I
Okay.
call Sassy J, Concrete Confidence with Sassy J. So you're going to give me quick answers. You're not going to overthink. And let's have fun. All
Okay.
right. Boardroom or bedside?
Ooh. um, I'm gonna say I want a foot in both.
Leave it to her. Leave it
You
to Jackie. Okay. She wants a foot in both. All right. One word that defines leadership.
Oh, I think the one I shared with you earlier, integrity. Definitely integrity.
Yes. What drains your energy immediately?
Crazy people.
Okay. What fills your cup?
Uh, giving, giving of myself to other people. That fills
Yes.
my cup. Um, I have to say one more thing fills my cup, and that's when what really rings my bell is when I see the growth in someone that I've mentored, that they're flying on their own and they're shining. And I think that it
Yes.
just fills me up.
Oh, love it. A myth about minority women in leadership.
That we're less than,
Mm,
that we can't
mm,
um, be measured in the same way as
come on.
as others. So I think
Yes.
that's a myth.
Yes. Your 20-year-old self needed to hear what?
That I think the things that I dreamed of for myself could actually be achieved. I think that,
Yes.
I think
Oh,
in back then I still questioned it a lot.
yes. Okay, we've got two more.
Okay.
Legacy in one sentence.
My grandchildren and my daughters. I
I
have
told you she
3.
and I. Mm-hmm.
I have 3 grandchildren and 2 grown daughters, so,
Oh,
that's legacy.
yes. If you can touch one life, what happens?
I hope that I'm able to offer one thing that will make a difference for them and make their life better.
Oh, wow. Well, let me tell you, we had a lot of key takeaways. I hope you, as a listener today, have been taking notes. And some of the takeaways from Jackie today: systems can be rewritten. Not her words, these are just mine. You may have to work harder, but that doesn't mean you are less.
Right.
Integrity and respect are non negotiable. Heal roots, not just branches. And your shine is not arrogance, it's assignment.
Right.
So, Sassy J, Jackie, reminds us that ceilings are only limits if we accept them. And you may have been told you won't amount to anything. You may have been diminished, but listen carefully. Concrete cracks under consistent pressure.
Yes.
And if this episode touched you, you better not hold it on just to yourself. Share it. The woman that you share it with will appreciate it. Send it to someone who's navigating leadership. Send it to someone who needs permission to rise, because you don't. I've already told you that. And if you're ready to rewrite your own structure, whether in career, calling, or confidence, join me inside the She Shines community, because here we don't just shine, we build, we heal, and we rise. I would like to share with you how you can get in touch with Jackie. And let's see if it comes up. Ah, where did it go, Jackie? Okay. While I'm putting it up, I'm going to just let you share some last words.
I think that the last thing I would just say is believe in yourself. You know, you can dare to dream. You can achieve that impossible if you just try, and really just, you know, chase your passion and your joy. Don't chase the title and the money. Chase the passion and the joy. And believe me, the rest comes. You know, that success will follow you. And the good thing about that is other people will follow you too. So just believe.
I love it. Let's see. Let me come back here. I wasn't able to get it, but what I will do, Jackie, it will be in the show notes.
Okay.
So if you want to get in touch with Jackie, please do look at the show notes. I will also post it when I put the episode up in social media. Because, oh, wait a minute, it just showed up. Are you serious? There, there it is. And those of you that are listening and you say, well, I can't see it, you will have it. It will be in the show notes. But if you are watching on YouTube, of course, again, one last time, that's how to get in touch with Jackie. Sassy J. We just gonna call her Sassy J, because I mean we family now.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
No formal
That's right.
introductions. Well, Jackie, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm still
No,
learning how to
thank
do
you
this.
very much.
And for all our listeners, please remember that no one needs to dim your light. Keep shining, because it's your assignment. Be in alignment with your assignment, and we'll see you the next time on She Shines with Coach KG. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Will you dim your light or let your spirit break free? You got power inside you, more than you can see. Time to realign, reclaim what's meant to be. Living in your essence is your superpower.